Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with QMacro episode 64. My goodness me, episode 64. We're doing well. It's another Friday morning here in Manchester. This time, unlike a couple of weeks ago, I have coffee in my SAP e-coffee cup. Thanks in no small part to the generosity of Mr. Gregor Wolf, who sent me this and another couple of espresso roasts, actually, from a local roastery, which we'll come to. So thank you, Gregor, for that. It's really, really nice. Espresso Bavarese. I'll show you the link to that shortly. I definitely recommend you check it out if you're, if you can get some mail order from there, which I know you can generally. Yeah, welcome, Tim. Good morning. I guess you may be attending the Code at Home later on this afternoon. I'll bring that up as well. And Manuel, good morning. Rahul, good morning to you. Good day to you. I hope you're all well. Really, thanks for joining today. Really nice to have you all on board. Now, let me just switch already. Hey, Morgan, Volker. Great to have you on board as well. And Fuad, good morning. Leo, good morning. My goodness me. It's all wonderful to see you all there. Right, I'm going to switch to the main screen, actually. Now I've shown my Baruli Cafe Rösterei. Thank you, Gregor. Again, I'm going to go to the main scene because there's a few things I want to share. Christian. Good morning from Munich. Well, in fact, I think I'm pretty certain, given this is from Gregor, that this Baruli coffee roastery is also somewhere in the Nair, as they say. Yes. I guess we haven't seen each other for a week or two or three, maybe. I've moved offices. The room looks different. Yes, this is a little room off the kitchen because my better half, Michelle, she's also working from home. And we were sharing an office, and we're always on calls or live streams or whatever together. So, it wasn't really working out that well, and we're super lucky to have a little spare space here. So I moved my whole desk into here. And yeah, I keep telling people that this is one of those fake Zoom backgrounds, but actually it's real. I'm very lucky to have this extra space to be able to do that. So yes, it is a different room. Good morning, Robert. Nice to see you again. Good morning to the Netherlands. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. So, in fact, why don't I bring this up and just dive in. In fact, there is... Oh, yes. I was just looking at the standby screen, the classic picture that I've got of the rolling hills down towards Oldham and Manchester. And that was where I was when I took this picture. Was it yesterday? No, day before yesterday. When I'd send my Good Morning SAP community on my run. So that's the same place. It's at Hardshead Pike. So it's a really beautiful place. You can just see Manchester in the distance there. I sort of live halfway between there. And there's Oldham over there as well. It was a beautiful morning, nice and cold and crisp, and nobody around. So that's that. Anyway, there's the Baruli Cafe Rösterei. There we go. Let me put that link in there. Good morning, Andrew, and good morning, Philip, to South Africa. Amazing. And Ronnie, good morning to Norway. Amazing. Wow. We're so international here. So there is Baruli. Don't you just love the Facebook UI? But yeah, check those folks out. And in fact, when I was looking for coffee, I use Pact. I've used Alex mentioned this one to me yesterday. I've used this already. Rave Coffee in the UK, but I found a coffee just around the corner, a roastery just around the corner, literally about 3 miles from here, Heart and Graft, down in Droylsden, between here and Manchester. So I've sent Gregor some coffee from Heart and Graft, and also from Pact, as a way of saying thank you. So there's Heart and Graft Coffee Roastery. And finally, what else have I got to? Oh yes, so finally, this afternoon, if you have kids and if you're stuck at home and they're stuck at home as well, don't forget that I've got Servus Gregor. In fact, I've just been talking about you, so thank you for that. I've just been showing them the coffee, one of the coffee packets that you sent to me. Thank you very much indeed. Yes, just made it right in time. In fact, I've got your coffee here. Thank you. And so the Code at Home, as you probably know, is coding for kids, beginners, if they're stuck at home, parents, going spare or whatever. So I know that Tim, you're on the live stream today. You and your young boy attend these sessions, which is great, and lots of other people do. So that's that. That's this afternoon, UK time, 3:30. Finally, I did a talk at a UK ISOC, the UK and Ireland SAP user group. I did a webinar session on CAP and OData and CDS, and this is the link to the replay. Even if you don't have kids, they've made. That's a long URL. What's going on? So it's not even pressing enter. Oh, it's too. The URL's too big. In fact, there was a tweet. The HANA Access Daily Twitter account tweeted that. So I'll put the link to the. There we go. This thing here. There it is. There's the link to the tweet, and you can get that from the tweet. There we go. So there's the talk that I gave, just showing folks how you can move, not completely, of course, but if you're feeling a little bit sort of walled in by the ABAP environment on premise and everything, but you know about OData and you know about CDS a little bit, then you can move, start making your way towards the cloud with CAP and with CDS and everything. So that was that talk there. Similar but not quite the same talk as I did at one of Ronnie's events in Oslo. But yeah, maybe a little bit different. So there we go. That's that. And I think that's all the things I wanted to share. One more thing. This coming Monday, we have the long-awaited. Thank you, Greg. I do like it. Yes, I've only opened the Bavarese for now. I've frozen another packet so it stays fresh. And I've got another, the third packet ready. I'm waiting to open after this. So yes, the long-awaited or the much-anticipated, that's a better way of saying it, the much-anticipated Open SAP course, the free online course. This is a massively open online course system from SAP. It's awesome. The CAP course is starting on Monday. There's the wonderful CC giving us a bit of a demo or an introduction as to what the course is. But the course, of course, has been built by many experts, including one of our Hands on SAP guests from way back when, Christian Georgi, and lots of other people, Harini, Elena, David, CC there, Sarah, Johannes, Matthias, and Daniel, and more besides, of course. So yeah, check out that course. Enroll if you haven't already, and it's going to be ace. So there's the course URL as well. Good morning, Pierre. Bonjour. Yes, freezing the coffee. In fact, I watched a really interesting YouTube video from James Hoffman. If you've not watched James Hoffman on coffee on YouTube, check him out. James Hoffman, world barista champion, etc. from whenever it was. But really good things to watch about freezing coffee and the pros and cons and the do's and don'ts and everything. But there we go. Oh yeah, that's really good. So where are we? Yes, I'm glad I put these sort of links here. Otherwise, I would have forgot everything. Oh yeah, one final link. My goodness, this is a link fest today. If you've not seen it already, I've written a couple of blog posts on terminal tips, and there's a couple there. I've just put the link in there. So check these out. These are some things that we, the Hands on SAP dev community, should already have seen, maybe, if we've managed to catch the more recent episodes. Check them out. Just give a like to them. Give me a comment. Give me some comments on what you found useful in your sort of daily command line activities. And we'll be playing around, hopefully, if we get time, if I stop talking, with some of the stuff that we did in there later on today in the live stream. I think that's it. Yes. So let's start. I want to sort of go back to where we left off last Friday. When you're sort of reading a book at bedtime and you read the pages and then you pick up the book the next night and you're in bed, you think, I'll just go back a page or two just to sort of get me back into the flow. That's the sort of what I want to do with where we left off, because it was quite detailed. I was having a chat with my good old friend Craig Schmehill this morning, and I said it was like hardcore debugging porn. I quite liked it. It was really, really interesting, and I hope you did too. So we're going to do a little bit more of that with a few of these commands. But I can't remember who asked it. Was it you, Rahul, about the difference between a CF restart and a CF restage? And of course, here's the documentation that is going to tell us. And I think I had a conversation with somebody after the stream, and our inkling was correct, i.e., and I'll let you read this after the stream, but basically a restage is bigger than, is more extreme than a restart. Restarting the app is effectively, according to this documentation, is effectively just basically stopping and starting the app in the same droplet, more, effectively. Okay, and again, I'm using the word droplet this time. I used container last time. Droplet, container, container, droplet. So if you just want, if let's say you've made a change, you've changed an environmental variable that your app will be reading, then you can just do a restart. Okay, but if you change something that requires a rebuild and a re-establishing of the build pack itself, let's say there are some environmental variables that the build pack relies upon, then you have to do a restage, which is basically like a CF push, but without the push, if that makes sense. It's like a CF push without the upload. It's already there, so it just goes and does it again. In fact, we'll try both of those out very shortly. Rahul, it was you. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I thought it was you. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so hopefully that is a little bit of an explanation, and we'll, like I say, we'll try that in a minute. The other thing was, yeah. So I think Andrew, you were asking about the RTR and RTR/, was it RTR/10 or something? Basically, there's a really good page on the Cloud Foundry documentation. Again, one of the things I really like about SAP dev stuff today is that a lot of the time we can learn stuff by looking at documentation on non-SAP sites. That says to me, we're going in the right direction. We are in the right space here because we're using, just like I look at documentation on Oasis for OData and the OData specifications and everything, and OAuth. We've got the Cloud Foundry documentation, which is fantastic. So RTR, as I think we mentioned briefly last week, is the Go router. So if we look at that there, it emits RTR logs when it routes HTTP requests to the app. So basically, this is the difference between the Cloud Foundry level and then the app level. And we saw some of that last week as well. So the app is running, happily inside the droplet, inside the container, listening on a port 8080, for example. But of course, we hit a URL that is being managed by Cloud Foundry, effectively by the Cloud Foundry machinery. I like saying machinery; it sounds really cool, and it makes me sound quite, as though I know I'm talking about, but I don't really. And the Cloud Foundry machinery takes that request and then works out where to route it. Okay, so if we have a look, let's bring that up here, and CF routes. We can have a look at the CF routes here, and we can see there that there's a route defined. So route is a thing. See, one of the things that I talked about in the terminal tips was this truncate thing, because it really annoys me that it's just so ugly, the CF output. So what I'll do instead is I'll pipe it into trunk, which will then just chop it off at the end of the terminal. Well, I'll show you what trunk does, how trunk works in a minute if you haven't already seen it. But that's a bit nicer, isn't it? So we've got this route where the host is dest-test funny mouse IP. I've deliberately not sort of destroyed the app and recreated it, re-pushed it, so that we got the same name as last time. I should have kept that. What was it? Tame Impala, or was it Shy Impala? One of the Impalas, anyway. It wasn't Tame Impala. That's the actual Western Australian band, isn't it? That Phil pointed out. So the root is dest-test-funny mouse IP.cf.apps.u10 hanaondemand.com. Okay, and that root is then, if a request is made to that root, something in Cloud Foundry, as in the Go router, needs to work out how to route that request to the actual app that we've deployed that is related to that route. Also, that also explains why, if we do a help on the CF delete command, where you can delete an app, also delete any mapped route. So this is mapping between a route and an app, they're separate, but they're mapped together. And the Go router, effectively, the RTR thing, is what handles that routing from the root to the app. Does that make sense? And the RTR/10, from what I understand from reading the documentation, Andrew, is that there are multiple instances of these things. So that's why we see also in the logs, and we'll see it again in a minute, you've got app/web/proc/0 or /1 or /3 or whatever. And these are just the different instances. So for example, from the app perspective, there'll be maybe multiple instances, multiple droplets. And I don't know how the machinery of Cloud Foundry works at this level, but I'm sure that the Go router may need to scale to multiple instances in a given environment, like EU10, for example, in order to do the work. So that's the theory. So given that, was that the only thing that I wanted to show you? Yeah, given that, why don't we pick up where we left off and start playing around again with the logging, because we've got a couple of more things to show, and then we will kick the OAuth flow off by requesting that route and seeing what happens. I think was it last week that Max was around, or the week before, and he mentioned another way to sort of manage logs is through Kibana. So we'll look at doing that as well, make it a little bit more comfortable for us, but also there's other things we want to do. So what is that trunk thing? What we did there was CF roots trunk, and we can say here vi which trunk. If you're not familiar, basically, well, in fact, if I say which trunk, that'll say it's that trunk. So it looks in the path to see where trunk is. My path looks like this. Well, this is where my shell looks for executables. And I've added, I've got a new scripts directory in my dot files. And in that scripts directory, I've got some scripts. Now, the terminal tip blog posts explain some of these things that we've done and creates them in the form of a function. But I think I might move them to scripts to be a more permanent thing for reasons I'll show you in a second. So I've got in here, I'll show you, r.files scripts. There we go. There's trunk there. And trunk, it's really simple. All it does is whatever it gets piped into the script gets passed to cut. And we're saying, well, we want the characters from, the first character, that's sort of implicit 1, all the way through to however many columns there are in the current terminal. Okay, so if we say here tput cols, there's 116 columns. This terminal right now is 116 columns wide. So we can say, well, why do we do that right again? What do we do? CF roots cut. If we say cut C1 to 10, every bit of the output from CF roots will be chopped and will just show the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characters, basically. So what we're saying here is cut from 1, that's implicit, to the result of calling tput cols, which then is that. So it'll cut it exactly at the end, rather than have it wrap around and then it becomes really difficult to read. So that's one way that I make my command line with Cloud Foundry more comfortable. Now, before we do anything else, let's just have a no, not that one. Where is it? That one there. Let's have another look. We got lint logs. This is what we did last week. This is the little bit of a function that Andrew christened. I think we called it clean logs initially, but lint logs is much better. And this is what I've just modified it a little bit. I did that this morning, actually. So we played around last Friday by looking at certain aspects of the Cloud Foundry log output. And we noticed, in fact, why don't we do that? Let's open up another window. And if we say cf logs dest test, let's do that. Let's do it raw, first of all, and get the full glory. And then what I'll do is I'll just go down here and go to the desk test application root. And there we go. We got all that stuff there. And we can see that we've got all sorts of things. We've got here these error logs. Now we noticed that we've got error there as opposed to out here. So if you again look at the documentation that I've posted a link to already about the logging, you'll see, and we could guess, I think we sort of implicitly guessed this anyway, out is log output that comes from the app. Okay, these are all, as you can see here, these are all in the context of the app type. If you remember the app logging here, if we go up to the top again, we've got, where is it? App. Every app emits logs according to what they do, right? So app, proc, web, whatever. So these are logs emitted by the app itself, by, in our case, approuter. Okay, so, and where you have out, that's where the app emits it to standard out. Okay, and when you have error, that's where it emits it to standard error. And a classic use of standard error, as well as just for outputting errors, is outputting extra information, sort of out of band information, so it doesn't get messed up. If you're trying to capture the output of a command from standard out, and you get some extra information as well, as I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing the other, then really that extra information should be out of band in standard error. That's like a classic use case or classic pattern. That's maybe, I'm just thinking about this now, maybe that's what the Cloud Foundry output should do. So the retrieving logs and all this noise at the top here before the actual data that we want comes out, that should be sent to standard error in my console, maybe. So we've got the error output here, okay, and we've got the normal standard out, and the error output is what gets written to, or standard error, when we turn on debug. We turned on the debug logging last time, didn't we? In fact, debug, that's it there. When we set the environmental variable excess app log level to debug, it caused extra information to be logged out, but not to standard out, but to standard error. Okay, so last Friday as well, we switched our clean log or lint logs function to listen out for error instead of out. Okay, but instead I've codified that to say, well, let's take in a parameter to this script here. And the default, if we don't specify a parameter, is out. And then we have the same thing as we had last time. So the logs are going to be piped into this script, which means it's going to be piped into grep. We're using line buffering as well, so it passes all the way through the pipeline here to the next thing, and so on. And we're now going to look for either out or error, if we specify error or anything else, followed by a space and followed by an open curly bracket. Okay, that's our sort of lazy but effective way of looking for those logs, like those logs here. Okay, there we go, out written, yeah, there, and also error, error open curly brackets, out open curly brackets. Okay, and then we do the same as we did before, which is to pipe that into cut. So we chop off things and we just grab using JQ the written nat and the message. So now let's use that cf logs dest test. Some geese flying past over here then. Cf logs dest test, and we'll pass that into lint logs error. Okay. So let me go, and I'll just go down here to this tab here and refresh that, or re-request. In fact, why don't I do this? In fact, let me get the link, copy link address. Let me go into another little pane here, just temporarily, and I'll just curl that. Okay. There we go. So I can get rid of that again. There we go. And what we get is the sort of stuff that we saw last time. So why don't we not only do that? Let's call this window, rename window error. Okay, so we've got the error window here. Let's also now cf logs dest test. In fact, shall we do it on the same? Let's do it on the same window. Yeah, okay, let's use panes instead, right? That'll do. Cf logs dest test, and then we'll pipe that into lint logs, and then we won't specify error, so it'll default to out. Okay, and there we go. Let me request that again. Let's go up here and request it again. Curl there. So now we get separated nicely. Oh, I've just noticed some chat. I'm sorry, I've missed the chat. Rahul says, nice tip, could be good if we can filter based on columns, like remove the port column so as to have some space for the output. Yes, but as Andrew says, though, with there be dragons. Now, that would be more possible if, first of all, the Cloud Foundry output it. If we do this, for example, if we say cf apps, for example, I guess you're talking about this, right, Rahul? So first of all, there's all this mess here to get rid of. Getting apps in, blah, blah, okay, and then an empty line, then a header. Okay, so we can get rid of those because we know that the output of CFA always prints 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of useless mess before we get to the actual data. So we could say, for example, cf apps and then pipe that into sed 1 to 4 delete. Right, we can do that. Okay, and of course we can use cut to use spaces as separators. However, there are some bits of output. I think if we have a look at CF services, for example, there's some output I've seen somewhere. Oh yeah, there we go. So there's if we look at this one, the portal resources workflow tiles, right? That's the name. Then the service is portal. Then the plan is standard. Then the bound apps are workflow tiles approuter and workflow tiles SLP. But there's a space there, right? It's like, why do you do that? It makes it so hard to parse. So yes, those are some of the dragons maybe that Andrew is thinking about. I mean, ideally, I've watched a load of videos from Alex Ellis and looking at some of the Kubernetes and Ketchup and Arcade style commands. I think you can have like wide or not wide or condensed type thing, which will automatically give you certain columns or not certain columns. That would be at least a start, but come on. Anyway, I don't want to beat on the Cloud Foundry command output too much. It's great that it's, we've got it in the terminal here, and we can probably build some scripts to do that properly. It just needs a bit of time. But the simplest thing that possibly, the 80-20 rule is let's expend 20% of the effort to get 80% of the reward, which is in this case, something nice like this. So we can see that these are the application logs only. Okay, the output. So we can say the URL was that. And then we remember from the previous 2 episodes, sending page with client-side redirect, the first thing that the approuter does for us, because of course the Go router, where is it here? If we go up here and zoom that in, yes. The other thing is, the Go router, the RTR, is going to redirect the incoming request to the application itself, but we're not seeing that. What we're seeing here is what we saw on Friday, which is that first of all. Okay, incoming request to approuter. Okay, path, and then there's another one. I did it again, right? But what we're not seeing. Let's do this in another window here. Let's go to here. We could kill that one as well. Yeah, there we go. If we say cf logs dest test, dest test. And I'll just go here for it. See, what we're missing are, where are they? Yeah, there we go. the router stuff. Okay, we're not getting that output. Okay, so for that, and the reason we're not getting that output because all we're doing is filtering for, grepping for that or error and that. So instead, there we go. This morning, I thought I'd try a different thing to show you. I mean, there's all these different things, and I guess what I want to do with this is to show you all the different possibilities. We've looked at grep, we've looked at sed, we've looked at cut, we looked at JQ as well, of course, because if we have a look at the app logging documentation here, I saw this morning, and it sort of explains, I can't remember where it was now. Well, where was it? Basically, it was saying that the logregator, right, just passes logs through as is. Okay, it doesn't really, it treats them as blobs of data, and this is why we get this situation where we get all sorts of ugly, unreadable stuff from a human perspective. So you can sort of, you can sort of understand why it's happening, but it's still not great. But anyway, what we can do is say, well, I'd like also to see the output, for example, from the Go router. But this thing here, this is quite wide, and I'm in a small terminal, for example, so I want to cut down some of that stuff. So why don't we just have a look at this here? So all I'm doing here is I've got a script called trim logs, and all I'm doing is I'm using a regular expression. I'm using sed, okay, in unbuffered, or rather line buffered mode, right? What I'm doing is I'm saying, well, I want to anchor this regular expression to the start of the line. I want some stuff, okay, and then I want to find 2 digits followed by a colon, followed by 2 digits, followed by a colon, followed by 2 digits there, and capture that, okay. And then there's going to be 8 more things, 8 more whatevers, dot anything, followed by a space, and then I want to capture everything after that right until the other anchor, the dollar anchor, which is the end of the line. Then I want to print out what I captured here, which is \1, and then I want to print out what I captured here, which is \2. Now the upshot of that is that we can say cflogs dest trim logs, okay, and now if I request this again, hello, what's going on? Press that. There we go. So now it's a little bit nicer in that we've only got the timestamp here. So 8:33:07, which is now, from the router out, get, and it then redirects it to that thing there. So now I think we're sort of back to where we were on Friday. So let's finish off by looking at the, I mean, this was a little bit all over the place, but hopefully, there are some useful things in there that you can take and use for your own scripts. I'll add that sed, that trim logs thing to another terminal tip maybe. But yeah, let's make this full size, okay, and let's just put a little line there so we know what's what. And now let's bring up this and start from scratch here. App logging, we don't want that, we don't want that, we want here. So let's go here. Okay, first things first, we know what's happened there. Incoming request to approuter. Yep, that's great. In fact, is that the thing we had there? Is that the last thing? Yep, okay, that's what we've got there. Incoming request to approuter, method get. Okay, and then I'm going to authenticate. Of course. There we go. What's going on here? There we go. And then press enter. We'll see. This is where we left off, isn't it? And we'll see. Let's go up here one at a time. There we go. Incoming request to approuter. We're requesting the root. The next thing we see is we've typed in our username and password. We've pressed login. We saw that the login callback was called, so we're now requesting that login callback. Okay, that's come back to the approuter. So that's giving effectively the approuter the code. Okay, don't forget we've interacted not with the approuter when we're signing in, but we've interacted with the authentication server. And the authentication server sends us a redirect to this path here, giving the code that it's granted. This is like this really, really short-lived, code that it has to be exchanged for an access token. Okay, so that's that. So that then goes in. So from our browser, we send a request to /login/callback code equals void whatever. Okay, and then the next thing we saw, and this is almost like where we left off in super excitement. What happens is that the approuter, don't forget, these are debug logs from the approuter. So the approuter is saying, I am now requesting the user authorization and access, or whatever the A stand for, to this thing here, P 2013, blah, 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 authentication EU10, OAuth token. So that is the authentication server in this whole thing. It's using this this authorization code grant type flow, and at this point it says, please give me, right, an access token in exchange for this code. And the code is the one we got, that short sort of 10-character code or wherever it was, just up there. But it also, when we did this manually, we didn't specify a redirect URL because it didn't make sense, because it didn't have anything to sort of catch the redirect. But what the approuter also sends in this OAuth authorization code grant type flow request step, that's a long sentence, is also a redirect URI. So it says, and when you're about to give it to me in this callback here. Okay, and that's that. So there's that, and then we got here entering refresh token. What's that there? Incoming refresh approuter. That's another one. And then the approuter is saying, right, okay. I wonder, entering refresh token here. I wonder if every time it tries to refresh it, as a pattern. I don't know. Be interesting to see if we can find the string entering the refresh token in the approuter sources, because we've got access to the approuter sources to see what it's doing. But let's leave that for now. Instead, we'll say, okay, well, what's going on here in the request to backend? Rewritten URL. Now, it's already got, and I think, right at the, in fact, yeah, let's kill that. But what we'll do is we'll say cf restart dest test. Restarting app. Let's go back to here, and to see, well, let's see what's going on. And we can see that the cell, which is this Diego thing, which manages these droplets, is doing stuff like killing this droplet and starting it again and everything. I'm hoping we should get some output here already in the standard error from the app once it restarts. There we go, it's restarted. Okay, there we go. I saw that this morning. So the first thing that the app does, because and it can do because it's been bound to an instance of the destination service, is saying, oh, look, I've got some routes. Okay, the routes supplied by xsapp.json, here they are. So it knows about this shop info route, okay? And then, of course, it uses the destination service to resolve that route, okay? Resolve that destination shop info. So now in fact, what I'll do here is I'll go and, sorry. Where are we? Bring that up here. And I will go here and remove those 8 cookies. Remember 8 cookies last time? Perfect. Get rid of that. Start it again. There we go, and get to that. Let's bring that up there. And now we can go through the final bits, because we now know, where is it? We now know authorization code. There we go. There we go. We now know it's actually managed to get this virtual ES5 :8000 from the destination definition through the destination service instance. And so that is the URL that's been rewritten for a request to the back end. And what it does, of course, is it also supplies, in this SAP connectivity authentication, which is interesting, it passes through the authentication, it passes through the access token. It's a bearer token. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. You read my mind. Are you still there? Nobody's talking. Oh my God! Are they all sort of going to have to make a coffee instead, or a wine, or a beer, or something? But yeah, there's the access token. And then we get the response back from backend. We get application XML, okay, which is this OData thing where we saw before, and et cetera, et cetera. So that is where we get the output, which is our service document. And we found all that out by using really, really simple, fundamental, I suppose. Where are we? Little scripts. So that's that. So would it be worth trying to have a play around with Kibana and seeing what that gives us? Because I think it'd be worth investigating, certainly. Now, yeah, okay. What a good idea. Yes, thank you. Well, yes, I would also grab a glass, but it's a little bit too early. It's 8:41 here, but yes, go and get a glass of wine and come back. So have we investigated everything? Oh, by the way, this one here, in case you're wondering, I use curl a lot, but also I'm hitting services, backend services that require me to send JSON a lot, which of course I can do in a payload, but it got really tedious adding the content type header to curl, because curl's default content type header that it sends is the www form URL encoded, right, which is what we don't want. So I've created this little script called jcurl, which basically does curl and then passes all the parameters I passed to jcurl, and then it puts them on the end. $@ is like all the parameters that were passed. So that's jcurl. So, I mean, all these different scripts here make my life in the command line for Cloud Foundry a lot more comfortable. There's tons more, though. If you have a look at the CF command, it'll tell you all the sorts of things. Now, the next two things I just want to show you briefly before we start looking at Kibana are two things that my friend and colleague Max told me about, and they came from plugins. So if you don't know, the command line CF client has a plugin system, and you can bring in plugins that will supply new functionality. As you can see here, CLI plugin management, and then once you've installed some plugins, the commands that you get from installing those plugins are listed here. And I've got, I think, 4 different plugins. Let's see, CF plugins will tell me, I think. There we go, yes. So we've got, why don't we even use trunk on that to make that look neater. There we go, that's better. So we've got CF targets, HTML5 plugin, multi-apps, top. Now, Max has got a brilliant blog post. Max, right, CF top. Where is it? Was it there? I've just realized that. There we go. Is that one? CF apps. Top plugin. There we go. Check Max's blog post out. It's really good. That's where I learned that from. So we won't look at top now. Instead, we'll look at something that I use quite a lot, which is the CF targets plugin. Okay, so I switch around from different targets, from production CF environments to trial CF environments, and different things, different projects I'm involved in. And I can say, for example, here, CF targets. What are my targets? And as you can see here, targets, if I do CF target singular, that's a standard CF command that's built in. And that just shows me where I'm connected to right now. The endpoint that I'm using from an API perspective, CF talks to Cloud Foundry through the API. It's the EU10 one, and also the user QMacro plus workflow CodeJam in this particular case, and the organization and space that I'm connected to. However, CF targets will give me a list of targets that I've previously saved. Cheers, Andrew. Nice emoji or emoticon or whatever the thing is. Nice picture. So as you can see here, I'm currently set to, using the CF targets plugin, set to the workflow CodeJam target. If I go to CF set target, I'm going to force that because things have been modified here. I'm not quite sure why they're modified, but I'm working on something with Scott Dillon. Check out this Garage series next week, actually. So I've now set target to Garage. Now if I do a CF target, it'll tell me that I'm connected to a different endpoint. I'm on the US 10 environment, and I'm authenticated as me at sap.com, and I'm connected to a different organization. So all the CF commands subsequent to that are going to there. It's a really nice, comfortable way of moving between different CF environments. So I'm going to set that back again, set target workflow CodeJam. There we go. So we're back to normal. So CF target will tell me that. Once you're actually pointing to a new target, you can say CF plugins. You can say save target, and it'll save it. And you give it a name, and these names are the things here that I created: collab, garage, main dev, 01, etc. So that's CF targets. Makes it really, really comfortable to move between different CF environments while staying on the command line. But there's also, well, actually, no, we'll leave the HTML5 plugin till next time, because have any of you, and tell me in the chat, have any of you wondered when you've deployed something, let's say it's in the context of SAP Cloud Platform workflow service on Cloud Foundry, and you've got, you know that you're deploying content sort of implicitly, okay, the portal site content, but also you've got, for example, a custom UI5 component that's going to act as a task displayer in my inbox. Okay, you can either do a form-based task display, which is really nice and comfortable, or you can build your own custom UI, like I described in my Discovering SAP workflow series a while ago. When you deploy that, where does it go? Where is it? Remember, in Neo, there used to be an HTML5 applications node, right? Is the equivalent of that is the HTML5 apps repo service, and there are two plans related to that: app runtime and app host. And app host allows you to push stuff. Okay. Oh, Andrew, what a brilliant idea! Yeah, we could write a plugin to process the logs. Yes, we could. Do we want to do that? Maybe. Nice idea. But just getting back to this really briefly, so we've got CF. If I look at the services here, we can. Oh, that's so ugly again. I love my trunk. There we go. There, that's better. We've got, okay, two instances of the HTML5 apps repo service. One is an app host, and one is an app runtime. Okay, and you can see here that the app host plan, the app host based instance of the HTML5 apps repo, is one related to an app called UI deploy, which gives us a clue. This is a thing that's pushing content to it, deploying UIs, deploying applications. So if we were to say CF, we can see here we've got HTML5 list as part of the HTML5 plugin, HTML5 list. And if I say CF HTML5 list, this is another thing that Max told me about, really interesting, and we'll look into this in a lot more detail in a future episode. We can see what's inside the HTML5 apps repo. Finally, well, not finally, because we see it all the time, but I've always been wondering, this is black box here, I'm pushing apps into it, I can't really see if they're there and what's in there, right? But now I can see, yes, I've got my generic user task, which I use quite a lot in workflow scenarios, and I've got another thing from some sample workflow application to do with onboarding and equipment choosing and something like that. So you can see that you can even retrieve out of the repo service what's in there. And now we've got all that. Anyway, we'll look at that another time. Maybe you could leverage this plugin to reverse the way the log output is written. Vincent, good morning, by the way. What do you mean to reverse the way that the log output is written? You mean write it in reverse order or some other sort of change? I'm not sure. But while you answer that, in the last 10 minutes, let's have a look at Kibana. Now, I had a brief look at the documentation this morning, and it's quite straightforward. What we've got, and let's do everything on the command line because we know terminal is futurist terminal. CF Marketplace. Let's have a look. What services are available to us? And again, we're going to get a horrible output. But who cares for this particular instance? I think actually we can say, for that service. So we could say, oh yeah, that's really, really horrible, isn't it? Let's look up. Application. There we go, application logs. There's the service that we're looking for, application logs. Okay. I mean, one of the things we should also, yes, exactly, HTML5 get is how you can get access to the stuff that's inside that otherwise black box of, yeah, amazing. If we said, for example, light. Anyway, no, let's not go there. What I was going to say was we could say, for example, CF Marketplace. What's available for that? There's a light plan there, and then we could use, for example, the FZF to choose and then automatically instantiate one. But we won't do that. We'll say CF create service. The application log service using the light plan, and let's call it, for example, HandsOnSAPDev logs, HOSD logs. That's horrible. HOSD logs. Okay, we've created a service instance. So now we should see that HOSD logs. There it is. There it is. Oops. Just there. And now all we have to do in order to get the log output for our desk test application, Cloud Foundry application, to be drained into something we can look at Kibana, I think all we have to do then is bind the logging service to it. So bind service, let's have a look. There we go, CF bind service, app name, desk test, service instance, HOSD logs. We can give it a binding name as well, that's quite interesting. I wonder where the binding name would show up. But anyway, let's try. Okay, so binding service HOSD logs. Now tip, and this is a tip, it's not a requirement, but we'll do it anyway. Use CF restage desk test. So this whole idea of knowing the difference between restage and restart is really coming into play because we now understand what it's asking us to do. Okay, which is to do the equivalent of a CF push without the actual push. So let's do that. We've got monitoring it there. We're monitoring it there. We're not monitoring it. Let's get rid of that one there. Let's get rid of that one and that one. Okay, so we know what we're doing now. CF restage desk test. There we go. That's nice. We can see all the staging, and this is what we see when we do a CF push as well, right? So it's really going right back to the start apart from the push. We're not going to get anything in the error log here because, of course, we're zoomed there, aren't we? Because the error log, the debugging information is only really written when it's the application is doing something for us. Okay, we probably will get that first thing about, oh yeah, I found that we've got a route here pointing to shop info, right? So we should see that one, I guess. When the app starts up, here we go, dynamic log level switching not available. That's the normal app output. And there we go. There we get the destination shop info debug log output. So the app has now restarted and it's now listening on port 8080, which we had before. Cool. But now, if we go to here, and if we go to list the apps across, where is it? Desk test. If we look in, I was there already, right? If we look in logs, we can, container became healthy at 8:55. Yes, okay, that's nice. But again, looking at logs in web browsers, looking at log records in web browsers, for me is like, why would you ever want to do that? I much prefer it on the command line. However, what Kibana is really useful for is, a 10,000 feet view. What's going on generally? How many error logs have we got? What's going? What is generally the health of what's happening here? So we could say, for example, what's going on with the network. We might not get, it might just be starting now. So what we'll do is we'll say, I've got the, let's just refresh that, sorry. I've got the, what is it? Let's do that again. Let's do it here. I've got the Apache bench command, which allows us to hit a URL lots of times in parallel. So why don't we say here, Apache bench, how many times? 500 times, just two concurrently. Let's do 1,000. 2 concurrently. What's it called again? What's the route called? Overview. Let's get the URL. Copy link address. Paste that in. Yes. So Andrew, JSON is awesome in and of itself, but having that as log output is, I think ugly is the word, right? Why is it doing that? So let's just see here. We've got here something that's going on. Why is it starting? Let's see. We'll see. Or is that? Let me just refresh that. Make sure it's just not a stale icon. Come on. I've not started the Apache bench yet. It started, yeah. I thought, it was just a stale icon. So let's bring that back down again. Are we ready for Apache bench? Okay, benchmarking. We should see here. Amazing. There we go. There's all those logs there. Whoa, brilliant. So now, what do we see while it's still running? I deliberately only did 2 concurrent, so we get lots of, it'll take a long time. Let's bring that down and have a look in the Kibana. Let's just refresh. Let's see what happens. I don't really know what I'm doing here. Oh, there we go. So we get, let's make that a little bit smaller. Response payload times. Let's go to overview again. Does anybody in the chat here already use Kibana? And if so, what should I look at? What's useful? Total logs count. You can click the little wheel icon in the top right corner of that page to auto refresh. Thank you, John. Which one? Which one was it? The little wheel in the top right corner of that page. Is that the little wheel? Is that the little wheel? Oh, it's help. Yeah, like a. What's it there? I don't know what you're talking about. Unless it was when I was on the network and load page. Where is it, John? Unless it's, I don't know. Okay, so the output has finally stopped. So I'm guessing as well. There we go. Apache bench is finished. Okay, that's cool. So now let's bring that up here. With your stuck icon. Oh, I see, with my stuck icon, yes. Sorry, yes. So total logs and spaces in that dev space there. What's that? Not very good, is it? Usage, total request timeline. Yeah, I can see. Oh, look, total request count, 1,000. I like that. That fits in exactly with what we did. Okay, let's look at Kibana in detail a little bit more next time, maybe. Oh, I see with the stuck. Oh, no, not Kibana. Ah, I see. Yes. Oh, was it stuck? Ah, well, had it gone to the where? Yeah, it is a little play icon with a little sort of play triangle, isn't it, with a little arrow around it? That's what you meant. Sorry, John. And welcome, by the way. Nice to see you. Okay, it's 9 o'clock already. You've all got to go. I've got to go. 1,000 count. That's a really nice way to end here. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments on here or on Twitter, but more particularly in the comments to the terminal tips. What terminal things are you doing to make your life more comfortable? And I'll see you next Friday. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And stay safe, stay indoors, wash your hands, etc.